Daniel Fooks, it's a great honour and privilege to have you agree to speak to us. And I think we first met, didn't we, not long before I was suspended, when you asked if, or I may have been suspended, I don't know, but when you did my portrait. Tell us a bit about your portrait work that you've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I met you in 2019.
So I probably had been suspended already then.
Yeah, it was all happening, and kind of it's been an honour to use my art to show solidarity for all those that have been smeared and treated so badly by the Labour Party. The Labour Party have been keeping me in work. I mean, they can expel people faster than I can draw, and the bastards owe me a few pencils because there's been good people from Jackie Walker, Mark Wadsworth, yourself, and so many others. And I've also used my art to kind of promote those that have stood up and called out the smears, people like Alexis Sale, Michael Rosen, people that have challenged the narrative and kind of given me hope and courage in these bleak times. Yeah. It's
how did you get into the art? I mean, because obviously a lot of people are familiar with you now. I've seen you quite prolific on social media and aware of your work. And I think often people are interested really in kind of how do people get into it, and when did you realise you got that talent?
Well, I see, my art as a hobby. Twitter is what I do now. It's I've always loved drawing and painting ever since I was a wee kid. So art is central to my life. It's how I make sense of the day, and I love it. I don't sell my work. I do it for my own reasons, and I'm a teacher, and I love that as well. Yeah. But it's been great to actually use my art in a way that supports my political activism.
I mean, it's a good example of that, of course, when the witch hunt was at its height against me personally, and Billy Bragg joined in the fray and compared me to a UKIP guy who had made some rape jokes about Jess Phillips and drew a comparison with me. And I think various people took him to task, and you certainly did. And you'd actually done a portrait, Billy's portrait, hadn't you? And then you posted his portrait in a skip, I think it was. So tell us a bit about that.
It's a funny story. It was... I'd met Billy in 2015. I'd been a fan of Billy all my life.
Me too.
I thought, part of the sad experience of the Corbyn years is that so many that I looked up to and respected and wanted to be strong have turned out to be weak and less than helpful, shall we say. I met Billy in 2015. He came to my studio, he posed, I did a series of drawings of him, I did paintings, and, I liked him personally. And so when you're, having your troubles, I kind of sent out a load of emails to everyone saying, I stand with Chris Williamson, do you do I hope you do too. I copied him in, expecting, Billy would know what side he was on and show solidarity. He got back to me to say that actually I don't, and came up with all these strange reasons. I got back to him and said, I'm very disappointed. And then I kind of jokingly posted some tweets of all my drawings of Billy Bragg. There were scans of my Billy Bragg drawings, all torn up or in the bin, or my big large painting of him in the skip, and saying, I'm not saying that I took the news of Billy's betrayal badly, but
yes,
well, anyway, so I copied him in. He saw that and went fucking mental.
I know he did.
He totally lost his cool, and he was like swearing at me and telling me that I should burn them and tell me to F off and all this. And I got back to him and said, I'm not going to burn them, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus like you have. I'm going to use these drawings in a way that will actually help the cause. I'm going to donate them to Chris Williamson.
Yes, he did,
And so we ended up meeting
that's right,
we
did, because we talked about doing an auction on them to raise money for the Legal Fighting Fund.
Absolutely. So it was, God, I mean, it's just been so sad that people I looked up to and wanted to be, on our side. And the big fight, we had one opportunity there with the Corbyn years, and I believe that many on the left blew it.
No, I totally agree with you. But I mean, I think, bringing art into the movement, because Jackie Walker made the point about, it should be about not just, talking's great, and that is important, obviously, and a lot of the stuff that we've been hearing today, we had some, and indeed yesterday, great inspirational speakers and so on, and that's important, the recharging the batteries. But she said, and that whole kind of bread and roses argument, I suppose, saying, we should be singing and dancing, and so this kind of whole notion of bringing art into the movement and using art in the movement. Just say a bit about what your thoughts are about how we can use art as a way of, means of communication and drawing people in.
Completely. I mean, that's what I grew up in. My mum and dad were involved heavily in community arts in the 70s. They set up Brass Neck Theatre Company, and they ran massive play schemes and built massive adventure playgrounds in Livingston and West Lothian back then. And the philosophy was that everyone can be creative, regardless of your background, regardless of who you are. It's a human right to connect with and to be creative in a personal and meaningful way through music, through dance, through art, through all sorts of stuff. And so that's a culture I grew up in. That's what so I've always seen a kind of connection between art and political activism. It's about, we're in politics because we want to fight inequality, but we want people to kind of fulfill their potential, and part of fulfilling your potential is connecting with what it is to be alive, and art's a way of doing that, of making sense of your own experience and that of others, and so I see it as the two are intertwined.
No, indeed, and hopefully in the fullness of time we can give people those opportunities to engage with art, to
Absolutely.
become artists themselves, as it were. Something I'm very passionate about. That we need to be kind of giving those chances, those opportunities. And and as I keep going on about the fifth biggest economy in the world, that shouldn't be an issue really, and a currency. I mean, what we've had a great session today with Bill Mitchell about modern monetary theory, and we have our own sovereign currency, and literally this is about political will. We can do all of these things. We can create a good society. We can give people access to the arts, to education, and to decent pension and good public services and all the rest of it. It's just about political will. But I was just going to ask you though about obviously great that you're here, Daniel. We're absolutely honoured. We really are, and I mean that actually, because you're a bit of a legend in the movement, and to see you here exhibiting your work. I mean, have you found the Festival of Resistance and kind of reaction to your exhibition that you've done of some of the figures that you've drawn?
I've absolutely loved coming here. I mean, thanks for inviting me. I'd have done anything to be here, and it's been absolutely great.
Great.
The speakers have been amazing, and it's been great to chat up with old friends and make new ones. And it's so funny meeting people that I've engaged with on Twitter for the last
of course,
4 years, that actually meet them in the flesh.
Person,
it's like they're all like family to me. In fact, I've spent more time with them than
I
have with my own family.
That's a good thing, actually, isn't it, about social media? I know social media, it's kind of got lots of positives, but it's got a lot of negatives as well, and so on. But it's sometimes, it's funny because, like you, I remember, today, this conference, but also on other occasions, people I've never met in the flesh at all, didn't necessarily know them from Adam in real life, but then have met them. And they feel like, I've known them all my life. We're mates, and there's no kind of you just get straight into a conversation. Absolutely. And it's great.
I mean, I can't remember who said. I think it was E.M. Foster or someone that said that you read to know that you're not alone.
Yes,
well,
yes, absolutely, and so absolutely. Yeah.
I use Twitter to know that I'm not alone.
Yeah, of course.
And it's, I mean, if I was relying on, which I used to, mainstream media, Radio 4, BBC, Newsnet, and all of that, I would think that I was just totally out of step, and it was just me. It's through Twitter, which I've managed to connect with so many other like-minded people, and it's just good to know there's other people out there that that care about inequality and understand what's actually going on, and how that we have been completely screwed by the powers
Absolutely. I mean, I think there's one of the things for me about the Festival Resistance. One of the kind of themes that we've been talking about is, and indeed we've tried to bring this to life, as it were, in terms of bringing people together by getting like the Workers' Party, for example, and the Socialist Party here. They'll be speaking on the same platform later, getting different pressure groups together, working together. So I think a lot of people are becoming disillusioned, as they were, I think, before Jeremy became the leader of the Labour Party, and people thought there's this great hope, this great opportunity, and that galvanised people, and people were united, or many people anyway, united under the Labour Party umbrella. But there's a lot of movements, and we're one, I suppose, and one of the things we're saying is trying to bring people together. But there's a lot of different kind of movements springing up on about different issues, and obviously one of those things, and I know it's something that you're passionate about, is just in terms of the response to to COVID, to the lockdown, and this notion about these kind of COVID passports and stuff like that. Now I know this is something that you're very concerned about, and in fact you very kindly put me in touch with Piers Robinson, and we got him on to our Resistance TV live stream, weekly live stream. And we also got Fabio Varghi to speak as well, and it was great. But interestingly, the programme was taken down then by YouTube. We put it back up again, a slightly reformatted version, and I think that survived so far. But it just shows a lot of pressure there. But tell us what your thoughts are about this whole notion about COVID passports and so on. And what's your thoughts about that?
I mean, I think that the COVID crisis is is being used to build back better, to use their phrase. It's to build back better for the ruling global elite, not for people like me and you. Or those
even better, because
they're
they're already pretty cosseted, aren't they?
Yeah, they're already running the show.
Yeah,
the big corporations. I mean, I almost don't. I mean, I was always brought up on the left to it was the nation state I cared about, and the establishment and the security services and stuff like that. I think the journey that I'm on is that I think there's like a power above that, which is corporate power, that kind of globalist corporate power that set the agenda of national governments. That is where I think the power lies today, and that's the people that are setting the agenda. Now, I fear that they're using the COVID crisis to kind of consolidate their own power. They're aware that late-stage capitalism is vulnerable, that with growing inequality, with issues of climate change and all the rest, that there's problems ahead for them. And so in order to deal with that, they need to bring in authoritarian measures in order to control the masses. And I fear that vaccine passes are going to open up the way to digital IDs, and digital IDs will kind of, once they're in place, I think we're screwed. I think that we're giving unprecedented power to the elite to control every aspect of our life. And I think it'll be the equivalent of like the Chinese social credit system, which they've been kind of trialing out in some major Chinese cities in the last couple of years, where every aspect of our life is going to be controlled by those that are in charge. So, if you want to access a public space, access public transport, even leave the house, that'll all be at the be controlled through this digital ID system in some way. That is my fear. And
there's a challenge, isn't there, though, in terms of making that case. I mean, we had Pat Akani from the Canary spoke about neurolinguistics, didn't he? And how the way things are framed in that sense.
Yeah.
So people articulating concerns about big pharma, about big tech, about government working in collaboration with them and using that as a way of clamping down on our civil liberties, etc., as well as making even more profits for these big corporate sectors. That people that are concerned about that are then being portrayed as sort of cranks who think it's a conspiracy. There is no such thing. That COVID didn't really happen. So how do we fight that? Do you think, Daniel? I mean, that's an issue, isn't it?
It's a very it's a very complicated issue, and it's a very delicate one. I mean, on the issue of conspiracy theorists, I mean, as someone who's brought up in the left, as a socialist, I mean, I'm used to conspiracy theories. I think the 1%, the elite, have been screwing the 99% since the beginning of time. And that didn't happen by accident.
No.
Some people conspired for that to happen. They consolidated their power, and they've done everything they can to make sure that the 99% don't get a fair share. So, conspiracy theories are not necessarily a bad thing. But obviously, there are many conspiracy theories out there that are completely bloody crazy and awful and associated with the far right and everything that we should have nothing to do with. And I'm afraid that I think the left have turned the COVID issue into a culture war. And they're making the same mistake they did with Brexit. I mean, I'm a Lexiter. I mean, I respect people who voted Remain. But I think that the Brexit issue was turned into a culture war. You were either, for the EU, which was presented as this, wonderful progressive institution, or you're a right-wing racist who was against immigration. Now, I think that was a bad framing of the debate. Like Bill Mitchell, I personally think the EU was a neoliberal institution and that we needed to, step out of it. Many of the left didn't agree, and I think it was used to destroy the Corbyn project. I think a similar thing is happening here. I think that the left buy into the greater good argument. Now, of course, I'm all for the greater good. All my politics, my values, my everything I do is about want to help people. We want to protect people and all the rest of it. But I think that I think the left have been played. I think vaccine passes, which many of them are promoting. I mean, the Labour. The Labour group in Wales, the Labour government in Wales, or whatever they're called, have brought in vaccine passes in recent weeks. And I think it's a mistake. I think they don't work in their own terms scientifically, even though my argument against vaccine passes is not the scientific one. But someone that has been vaccinated can spread COVID just as easily as someone who hasn't been vaccinated. So the scientific argument doesn't work for me. But the civil liberty one is what I push. I do believe that will be used to bring about digital IDs within the next couple of months or years. Then that will be aligned with digital currencies, which will kind of centralise power and mean that what we can spend our money on and where we can go and what we can do will be ruled by the elite. They've always run the show, but they are just consolidating their power, and I think this is the fight of our lives. Once that's in place, it's going to be very, very difficult for the left to rally and fight back from that.
I know Max Blumenthal and people like Jimmy Dore in the States have started to ask these sorts of important, penetrating questions about the way in which it's being manipulated, and that's not being replicated sufficiently here. I just think, perhaps in conclusion, what you think the resist movement should say, do, encourage on that that specific issue. Do you think this is something that we should put front and centre of what we are doing as a movement in terms of trying to bring people together?
I mean, that's why I'm here. That's what I'm kind of promoting while I'm here, and I would love the resist movement to be part of the wider resistance to the kind of moves towards a kind of new form of attorney. I would say that this fight is not a left-right fight.
No.
It is the 99% against the 1%. It is us against them. Dare I say it is the many against the few. But that means, and this is what some of your listeners and some of the people outside might find unsettling, that means we will have to march and group with those that we don't politically agree with. And I'm not talking about left-wing politics of Workers' Party disagreeing with Socialist Party or whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those on the right, not the far right, but the right, who many of the right are picking up on that, because there is a libertarian tradition within that political kind of movement. And I think that we need to join forces. Now, I loved yesterday, and I kind of was very inspired when I went back to my hotel, and was very moved by what I heard. But I was even more inspired when I went on Twitter and I saw what was happening in Italy. Mass strikes, mass protests. Same in France. All over the world, the people are resisting, and they are part of the revolution. My fear is that if the revolution is going to happen, it will happen without the say-so of the left, and that the left will find themselves sidelined. I would love for people like yourself and the wider movement to put civil liberties, which are entrenched in my politics, civil liberties and inequality, and a fight against inequality, they're intertwined. You can't have one without the other. It's not an add-on that you drop at the minute things get a bit tough. It's central. That I need you guys to be part of that movement to help reframe the debate. I mean, I'll finish with this. In Easter, I went up to London and met up with Natalie Seckler, who's giving some amazing talks here. And we went to the People's Assembly talk that Corbyn and Howard Beckett and all that crowd were doing. And that was fine, although I did feel that it was kind of like reheated 2017 politics. I felt that I feel the Labour left have lost their way. But on the way back, I had to pass one of these anti-vaccine pass protests, and there was so many different people there. It was incredibly diverse, and it's not how it's presented on social media. And I felt that I lost. It was a massive march, and I thought that's where the energy is. That's what the left needs to embrace those people. They need to, because on the way to the march, me and Natalie met this young working class guy come up all the way from Bournemouth, and he was asking, "Do you know where the march is?" And I said, "I don't think we're going to the same one, pal." And he said, "Oh, let me just tag along anyway." And then he was talking about, corporations and global elites and all the rest. And I thought, the left need to harness this boy's energy.
Of course.
We need to be the one talking to him. And we need to frame it within our politics. Otherwise, he could, get sidelined into the right. And we need to be part of that movement. We need to be central to that movement, because this is what's happening now. I think there's a power grab happening now that is bigger than the neoliberal counter-revolution of 79-80. That makes this look like small stuff. I think that fascism and authoritarian tyranny is coming here, and we need to fight now, otherwise we're fucked.
Well, on that note, comrade, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us. And perhaps just sorry, was you going to say something
I
else?
just want to thank you for organising all. It's a lot of work, and you and your team have done an amazing job. It's just been so professionally run. Last night was amazing. The food's been great, and I loved the music and everything.
Yeah.
And it is, as I said, in these kind of bleak times, it's nice to know I'm not alone, and that there's other people out there that care.
No,
and
indeed. And we'll build hopefully on this, and next year it'll be bigger and even better. We hope, and thanks for that feedback. And it's been great. And it's great to have people like you and the others, people like Bill Mitchell and Max Blumenthal and
absolutely.
The various other speakers that we've had this weekend. It just shows that there is some credibility to what we are trying to do here. And just perhaps finally say, in relation to your point about this is not a left-right struggle. Well, what's one of our watchwords has been, yes, we're on the left, but many of the questions that we're facing now, it's not actually a left or right question, and it's something that I've been arguing for a number of years. Actually, it's not a matter of left and right; it's a matter of right and wrong.
Yes,
and that's what we, I think, need to capture, and hopefully we can win over people like the sort of young man that you were speaking to there. So, thanks very much indeed, Daniel.
It's been an honour.
Best of luck. Thank you. All the best. Cheers.